Yo, what up, YouTube? Knowledge of self-determination. So, I want to talk about politics, the upcoming election, and a little bit about the Democratic debate last night. But first, I want to mention this particular case that just came to my attention. I do not have all the details, so I'm just repeating to you guys what I heard. Not an opinion on the actual case itself. I'll give my opinion after the fact. But black woman in Alabama was shot by a white assailant, and so was her baby. Her baby was killed. So, Alabama law saw fit to drop the charges on the white person and charge the black woman with manslaughter on her own child, even though they were shot by a white person. Now, I just want you guys to let that shit sink in. Let what I just said sink in. We live in a country where white people, where we can be the victims of white people's crimes, but they go free and we end up being charged for something when we were the victim of a crime in the first place. This is the country that we live in. And I just want everybody who's listening to this video to just think for a second. Where are the coalitions of white people who are speaking out and fighting these injustices in this country that they love so much, that they say is based on truth and justice, peace and equality, and blah, blah, blah? Where are these white people speaking out against these things? The governor of Alabama should be all over this. This motherfucker, as far as I know, wasn't saying anything. Now comes my opinion in this situation. America is a white supremacist country. It is a white supremacist country. Plain and simple. There is no getting around it. Anytime innocent black people can be charged with crimes that they did not commit, and white people who committed crimes can be alleviated of any fucking debt to society simply because they're white. That is the exact opposite of justice. That is injustice. That is injustice. That is a perversion of what law and order and justice is supposed to be. And I don't hear white people crying out about this shit, and I don't see them fighting this shit, which means that they are all on board. So just keep that in mind if you have white friends. Keep that shit in mind. Now, the upcoming election, I can't tell you who to vote. Well, I can tell you whatever the fuck I want, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for or who not to vote for. What I will urge my people, black people, what I will urge you to take into deep consideration, the Democratic and Republican parties. Why we have tethered ourselves to the Democratic Party for so long is beyond me. Black people, see, we need to get into, which I believe a lot of us are, but we need to get into the frame of mind where we are involving ourselves in and engaging in politics as strategic moves for our people to benefit and prosper from. We're just playing politics because we just want to be on somebody's team. You know what I'm saying? We're just jumping on bandwagons, so to speak. A motherfucker calls themselves a Democrat, and black people are all for them without even knowing anything about their politics. Without knowing anything about their politics, we jump all over that shit because they're black and they're Republican, Democrat. Even if they're not black, look at Bill Clinton. I was alive when Bill Clinton went on his campaign, was elected, and served 2 terms as president. They say he was impeached, but he remained in office up until the end of his second fucking term. So much for being fucking impeached. He was still the president of the fucking country. Anyway, see how the law doesn't apply to white people? So, Because this man was a Democrat, black people gave him all the love in the world. Because he went on the campaign trail and talked to black people and shook some hands and kissed some black babies, we were smitten by this asshole. He schmoozed the shit out of us. Bill Clinton got in office and signed into Congress his new criminal bill, his new crime act, which is just an extension of the crime bill that Richard Nixon started in the 60s. It's just an extension. It's the same old shit. They just keep adding new shit onto it. So Bill Clinton is responsible for, in the 90s, sending more black people, especially black men, to prison for unarmed drug offenses, for nonviolent drug offenses, and just in general, than any president before him or since him. Ronald Reagan didn't send that many fucking black people. George Bush Sr. didn't send as many black people to prison as Bill Clinton did. Not saying that neither one of these assholes, these other assholes, weren't white supremacists, because let's fucking face it, being a Democrat doesn't mean a fucking thing for black people. You guys have to understand that Democrat and Republican, these motherfuckers are just opposite sides of the same coin. Now, there are some very distinct and decisive issues that are at hand, and you can see the lines drawn in the sand on a lot of these issues. But when you really listen to what these assholes are saying, or not saying, they're saying or not saying the same shit. Meaning, they're not saying shit that pertains to black people. And they're not trying to do anything for us. Keep that in mind. Now, again, black people, we got to stop clout chasing, seriously. Stop involving yourself. So, I went to camp one year, Camp Chippewa. This is on the East Coast. I don't know how many of you guys have ever heard of it or know about it. I don't even know if the camp still exists anymore. It's Camp Chippewa. And there were a lot of kids from all over the country, even kids from other parts of the world. This is the first time I ever met an actual South African, a white South African. I didn't even know white people could come from Africa. That's how young I was. So I met a lot of people. I became a little worldly going to this camp, because I met so many different people from so many different walks of life. It was fucking amazing. But anyway, there was this one kid. I think he was mixed, actually. And I say I believe he was mixed because some of my cabin mates and stuff used to call the dude a zebra and an Oreo and shit. So I just, black on the outside, white on the inside, Then as a kid, I didn't really intellectualize it like that. So I didn't really think about whether he was mixed or not. But they didn't have, a couple of dudes in my cabin had some dislike or disdain for this kid. Now me, I didn't even know this person. I never even had a conversation with him. I've seen him, but I you know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know this guy like that. I didn't have any interactions with him at all. But I jumped on the bandwagon. I jumped on the bandwagon of dudes who didn't like him. There was only 2 dudes who really didn't like him. I jumped on the bandwagon of dudes who didn't like him and started disliking him too, simply because they were my friends. Without even investigating the situation, looking deeper into the situation, finding out who this guy was myself, and then determining my interaction and relationship with him based on that. Shit, sorry about that, guys. Just got a text. I was trying to clear it off the screen. I was a fool. That was a sign of ignorance. Not knowing. Ignorance is the absence of knowledge, the absence of information. So just keep that in mind. I was a fool because I had made up my mind about somebody before I had all the information required to make an informed decision. That was foolish of me. I was a fool. And so is anybody who makes a political decision just because of the party that somebody is resigned to. You make a decision based on just the party and not the politics of a person. That's a foolish thing to do. A lot of black people would take care to look at a lot of the independent candidates who are on the ballot You know, a lot of them don't expect to win. But if you actually pay attention to their politics and not the fact that they just call themselves independent, because independents typically are people who find fault with Republican and Democratic politics. And they are people who, in my opinion, because I claim independent, they are people who look at all sides, all issues, and try to make the best possible decision based on the information that they have available. And they want to make the best possible decision for their people, their community, their constituents, if you would. You know? This is what independents tend to want to do more than anything sometimes. Now, that is not written in stone. That is not an absolute. I'm just saying based on my experience and who I am as an independent. Now, I'm sure there are independents out there who are fucking wackadoos, but we're not talking about them. So moving forward. Now, what happened with the Democratic debate? From what I understand, there was a lot of talk of LGBTQ, immigration, and Latino issues. They didn't even bring up black issues whatsoever. Didn't even talk about it. CNN didn't ask any questions, and these people didn't segue into it. So, benign neglect is still in practice. And that's what these people are doing. Listen, I'm going to tell you something, man. A lot of Latino people may get upset with this, but I don't give a fuck. I live in California, and I see that shit with my own eyes. A lot of Latino people think that their asses are white. They think they're white. Or at least the closest approximation to it. See, they feel connected to Spain. They feel like they're European. You understand what I'm saying? Because they have light skin and fucking flat hair follicles, they believe they are like them. And they try to do the best they can to imitate white people. I mean, look, I know immigrants. I know motherfuckers who came across the book. I see what they do. They like all the shit white people like because it makes them look more American. It makes them feel more American. And they define being American as being white. A lot of them. Not all of them. A lot of them. They're not fighting for us, and they're not speaking up for us. But what I think black people should do is look through the ballot carefully and find people on the ballot who are talking about the greater good for all people more than anything. People who may even be talking some of the same shit you're talking. Look at the independents. Look at everything. Don't just play the same stupid game. And I'm going to be honest with you, man. If Donald Trump gets reelected, which all this could backfire on the Democratic Party, because let's face it, the Democratic Party don't give a fuck about us. The economy is actually thriving under Donald Trump, to be honest with you. I mean, if you look at the stock market, it's really thriving under Donald Trump. Take advantage of that shit. Invest in the stock market. You understand? Take advantage of the economic boom. Get on the bandwagon. Jump on board. But anyway, I'm not telling you to vote for Donald Trump. He's a piece of shit. But the economy is thriving under his rule, under his leadership. But just take this into consideration, guys. You know, look at all the candidates. If you're going to vote in this presidential election, look at all the candidates. Look at all of them. See what they bring to the table. Don't just listen to fucking buzzwords. Actually investigate these people if you're going to vote. Don't just vote for them simply because they claim Democrat or Republican. If they're not speaking on issues and trying to make changes that affect you, what the fuck are you voting for them for? Because I'm going to tell you, the immigration situation, that shit has nothing to do with me. That shit has nothing to do with me. My people weren't immigrants. We're native to this land. My people aren't immigrants. And even if we aren't quote unquote native, we didn't migrate here. We were forced to be here. And then we built this motherfucker. You understand what I'm saying? So, immigration isn't an issue for me. That's not my problem. So I'm not fighting that fight. Reparations for my people, fair treatment under the law, and the economics, and in this society is what I care about for my people. And other things, of course, I just want to paraphrase a little bit. That's what I care about. Let the immigrants fight for immigrant issues. Let black people fight for black people issues. And I was listening to Phil from the advice show, and what I'll say is this: he said that all black people are spread out all across the country, and we need to come together. Everybody, all of us should come back to the South. I do not agree with that. I do not believe that all black people in this country should literally put themselves in one area of the country. I do not believe that. I don't believe that. I do not believe that we should walk into the slaughterhouse like that. What I do believe, though, is where we are in the country, we need to start coming together in blocks, in those cities, those towns, those states, start coming together in that fashion. We don't necessarily have to all live in the same fucking area, but we can come together wherever we are in the country to make our voices heard. That's what we need to do. Unity. Nationwide and then global unity. That's what the fuck we need to come together as one cohesive unit. We don't need to all put ourselves in one motherfucking barrel so they could, blow up the barrel and get rid of us all at the same. No, we don't want to make that shit that easy for them. We need to start up an interconnected web of us all across the country. We need to start having each other's backs more, as opposed to being each other's worst enemies. It's not helping us. It's not helping us. These motherfuckers are on a decline, and they're going to do whatever the fuck they can to maintain their stranglehold on this planet. We have to come together as one or die individually.